with the stream machine?
Well, we're live right now. We are
Okay,
live.
sweet.
What if I click that button? What happens there? I've got all sorts of things clicked here. I think we're all kind of here, right? Sonny, you
Yep,
present?
I'm here.
All
Morning.
right, well, let's do this. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is December 11th, 2023. Only a couple more days left in the whole shebang for the 2023. A lot of change, a lot of things going on. You got Bender moving, got Sonny doing Sonny stuff, got Stonk doing stonking stuff. And here we are. Here we are once again on the eve of CPI, on the eve of the federales and their rate decision that we know how it's going to turn out. What we don't know is their messaging. So as we come into the week, Bender, after your extended time off while you were putting your stuff together, what say you?
Man, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. We real quick, I've complained. I don't know if complain's the right word, but I've talked about the amount of rock that is on this property that we're trying to develop and move on to and create something that is, livable while we kind of figure out what the next move is for us. But I've tried to put fence posts in the ground and dig holes and things like that. Well, I hired this guy to come out and make a road, and he laid a pad for the RV. And I also hired him to put in a septic. And let's just say, short story, the quick version is that we're way behind schedule, and every day it's like, man, this fucking rock is ridiculous. I'm like, I know. He's had so much equipment out here. Last night until about 7 o'clock at night, he had an excavator with a like a big rock driver on it, and just banging into the ground right outside of the camper, just doom, 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 all night. He ran that thing for like 10 hours yesterday. He's like, yeah,
Have we thought about
I'm deep
dynamite
enough.
yet? Has dynamite entered the question as far as
We've talked about it, but the place that we're putting it is I don't. I mean, that would be a last resort. Yeah, we've talked about it. He's like, I can get tannerite. I'm like, you got to do what you got to do. We need septic. So right now I still don't have water. I have the water that I brought with me that's in the camper. And I do have power for one camper. Remember, I bought several campers, so everybody kind of had their own place. Well, right now we're all crowded into one because luckily I bought a big one and it's new. And so, it's not horrible, but we've got everybody crammed into one because right now I'm the only one that has power. So, and
there
it's
you
37
go.
degrees.
Well, all right.
So anyway, good times.
Home on the range.
Yeah, so
Home
to
on the
speak.
range.
Yeah.
Well, we had an interesting week last week of some ups and downs and some sideways, and it seems like just to kind of clue you in, and then we'll flip over to the charts and whatnot. Last week was basically retrace. The road to nowhere was there. Over and over again, we would get these, big volume moves at the open, and then a chop grind fest for the rest of the day with maybe, another legitimate move within the last 30 minutes of the day that ultimately was given back overnight. And then, you just kind of rewash the same game over and over again, over and over and over again. Um, Not sure exactly what to expect in front of CPI tomorrow and the Fed on Wednesday, but it's like for the most part, all assumptions are and should be assumed to be correct that there are no more rate increases. That this is just a matter of balancing data with when and if eventually someday, maybe one day, we get a rate cut. That's kind of the game. It's kind of what we're looking at. Kind of the deal. So flow wise, we got good flow coming into retail names at the end of last week. Some really nice lines, even things like Kohl's, Walmart, Target, all that kind of crap we're getting good lines of flow for this week. As we have been tracking for the last several weeks, and basically months. This expiration, 12/15, has predominantly been run by bull. That's been the flow. Um, you can look at the charts and say, hey, we've been consolidating for the last 17 years, which is what it feels like in the zone. We're looking at the ES specifically coming into that 45.50 range, bouncing, coming up into 45.80, rejecting, and then we got a little, let's just call it ever so slight breakout that really wasn't a breakout. And so here we are all over again. Bender, you're here. Why don't you show us some of them charts?
Well, I got to get caught up. What are you showing? What did you are you showing 46.58 half right now?
Yeah, it's
I think
46.58.50. Yeah.
Okay.
The contract
So-
rolled over.
okay. So
Yeah.
the contract did roll. So I need to move my contracts over then, apparently.
And as I mentioned this morning, I got a new computer, so I am kind of trying to get everything set up and operational. But let's take a look at this. Let me throw this up.
So where am I supposed to find this on Ninja as far as a new contract?
I'll walk you through that after the open at some
I
point.
found it on Quant Tower was fine. I could find that easily. I can't find it on the Ninja.
Okay, you see my chart?
Oh.
Go ahead and.
Oh, yeah, no, you're asking for permissions. Yeah, well, there we go.
Double click on it.
Double click on, your chart.
Yep. There you go. Okay. So the biggest thing that that stands out to me is this volume imbalance on the daily here on ES that's sitting up here. So that's 46.79 is kind of the bottom of it, and 47.01 the top side of it to kind of fill that in. Obviously, some of these other things that we were watching, some of these other levels have now been filled in. We got our gap from August 2nd, got up and through that. So I'll take that off, this 45.96.75. I'm going to take that off. I've got to do some more work on the charts as far as fibs and things like that go. But remember, we had this parallel channel here, which is now, because of these get kind of messed up when we get contract changes. Let me tighten this up just a little bit. All right, so you can see, if we're using this parallel channel, I'll try to adjust it a little bit here. I'll clean that up later, but you can see kind of that midpoint, the reaction right around that level. We're coming up to it again, right? So if I take this and I just extend this out, again, not perfect, but you can see the trend line support down here, trend line resistance, tried to act as support, finally broke through and then reclaim. And now we're coming up to that midpoint. So you got the midpoint of that parallel channel and that volume imbalance sitting right up in here. So if we get up into this 46, let's say 46.80 to 47.05 area, this is a big one right in here. And I imagine that, there will be people looking to sell this. And honestly, justified, right? Because if there is going to be, you expect some sort of reaction. It's worth a shot up in this area. I'd want to see it fill that volume imbalance. And in order for it to be filled, right, we need to lay a candle over it, which would mean we'd want to see a daily candle close above 47, that 4,700, 4701.25 area, kind of right in there. We want to see a daily candle close above that and then show us some sort of market structure shift. So that's kind of the bigger picture, right? If we get up into this, we're at that midpoint. I would be looking for signs of that market structure shift. Also on the daily level here that stands out is where there's going to be a lot of stops. It's just under 4,600, 4,595, kind of right where these candles came down and tested. Below that, you start getting into, this candle and everything that we would have left behind there. Into a 60-minute, same picture. Right in here, 45.96, 45.95 half. That hasn't been taken yet. Got some gaps in here. Go to a 15-minute here. Yeah. So we're sitting 46.58. You really don't have anything on the 15-minute until you get down here, 46.33.25. There's a.
It's like you can basically draw like a wedge and a flag that we're sitting here kind of locked into. In a lot of ways, it's like you can see it. It's like because we're dealing with different numbers, I can't figure out how to move my contract. I can't really like call out numbers, but
yeah, you have to go again. We'll do that. We'll mess with that after hours, but I'll show you how to roll that over. Yeah, how's volume been?
Pre-market volume has been really, really poor. The last week or so, very, very poor. But we're still somehow managing to waddle up into just over 50 million shares traded on SPY. And looking at that, so volume hasn't been. There's only maybe 1 or 2 days that were putrid from a volume standpoint. But volume, it's like they find a way to keep it around that 50 to try to push into 60. But nothing extreme. I think this is all just a bunch of cats playing patty cake until Wednesday, and then they can kind of drive direction after that.
Well, I'll put some more stuff. I'll go through and throw some fibs on here, kind of figure out some other areas of interest, and I'll post that as we get closer to the open. But
very good.
This trend line breakdown here looks like that was, essentially that liquidity grab, right? Kind of just for show, scare everybody.
Yeah, I think that was the 375th attempt at that 45.55 area to where it splashed and then recaptured it on the old contract. It's like that was that area, that 45.55, 45.50, whatever you want to call it, just over and over and over again, like being like the most annoying thing ever last week. Again, on the old contract.
So going back to kind of the bigger picture and tying that into where we're sitting right now, I would be watching this. If this gets taken, 46.66, 46.66 half. Look to see what kind of candle it provides. See if it wants to go up and fill in this that volume imbalance. If you get that, power candle through, fair value gap behind, you can trade into. I'd be looking for a run up towards 4,700. And, on the flip side, if and it already took that what is that? That low from the 8th. So if it comes back down here and takes this out again, 46.57 half, probably look for it to come down into here, 46.50, and then into this fair value gap. That's about all I got. I'll pass the mic.
Nice.
And then
Sonny, what you got, buddy?
All right. The big news yesterday was the Cigna and Humana canceling the plan to merge, and Cigna upped the game with the $10 billion buyback. It gapped up nicely this morning. Humana was also up this morning. NVIDIA is looking to move some of its manufacturing out of Taiwan to Vietnam. That'll be an interesting development for sure. Paramount, we saw some big flow in this a week and a half ago when there was some rumor about them bundling with Apple. Now the second rumor is they are looking to be sold and bought by Skydance Studios. So it has a nice move. Also look at Warner Brothers and Disney Plus can get the move on this. So you mentioned that retail names got a whole bunch of bull flow. So there was news yesterday. Private equity fund is looking to buy Macy's for $5.8 billion and take them private. So based on that, JWN, Rost, a bunch of other names upticked this morning. Definitely, we did see good flow into JWN and KSS. So that'll be interesting to play. And this narrative changed. We talked about this quite a bit earlier when Apple released a new phone, how there was news about supply chain issues, the sales are not good, blah, blah, blah. And now the narrative is Apple nears record high on strong iPhone sales. Imagine that. So Wedbush is very bullish on Apple. They're also talking about Boeing. They are their cash flow guidance will come in lower, but not to worry. 2024 is going to be a stellar year for Boeing. It's inflection point basically. Calhoun, their CEO, may resign, or his tenure may come to an end. So they already have somebody good in place to take over from him, and the airline industry is going to have a rebound in 2024. So it's all good for Boeing going forward. New York is close to banning most non-compete agreements. Like in California, there's no non-compete for people. Like, you leave a job, you can go work across the street as long as you don't take trade secrets and steal stuff. So New York is looking to do the same thing. This was interesting. So they did, they've been talking about how sales are up and this and that. So they did two different surveys they're talking about. One was that American consumer will spend more this holiday season, up like close to like $1,000 on gifts, this and that. But the other survey said less people are spending money. So they use percentage versus the dollar amount. So I think the percentage one is much more valuable survey to look at versus people spending the dollar, because if the prices are higher, you're going to spend more buying gifts. I'll post this in the room. So this was an interesting read, that the sales people, the shoppers is down from 46% in 2021 to 40% in 2024. And that's it.
Very nice. So really not a whole lot of anything. We just got,
Nice. Just news that, the merger and stuff, things we already know. I think people are just, it's fun watching Twitter with all their guidance of how the things going to go.
Yeah, no, that kind of makes sense. It's like, I think ultimately we're stuck in this, what do we want to call it?
Shop zone?
Road to nowhere until Wednesday afternoon. I think that's really kind of what we're dealing with here. All right, Stonks, you ready? You ready for showtime?
Ooh, man, I'm ready. I almost got back in bed, but I'm awake. You're welcome. Hope you all love it. Let's see. We've got Smashing on deck. Spy here we're looking at first. So we did have a smash upside on Friday, which was based on this candle. We closed below the prior day's low, so we were looking at a failed breakout, which we were looking to go long above that high, which we got. And so Larry would be sitting long at the moment. Long guy Larry over there. We did close above Thursday's high on the SPY machine, so we will get an alert if we close below, or if we break below Friday's low down there, 457.20 on the SPY. But at the moment, Larry would be sitting long based on the price action from Friday. Qs we looked at earlier last week. We did not technically have a smash on deck, but we set the alert up here. We were looking for what was it? This hourly gap fill right there, which we got, and then we pushed. So at the moment, Friday's price action closed above the prior day's high. So we'd be looking, I've got an alert set that would be if we close our break below Friday's low, 388.50 IWM. Also closed above the prior day's high. So we'll get an alert here if we break the low down 184.85. It kind of looks like it's working on another daily bull flag over there though. So and we'll dive into some levels on the Russell chart that I'll be looking at. But that's kind of just the smash potential that we've got going here. So we can start with the Russell because I've got it up. Let's see. So this is the level that I'm waiting on, 1895.8. We can see zooming out to a daily, there's going to be stops sitting there. This guy's break-even stop. These guys would have break-even stops, these bears. So I think this is going to be an important target above up there on the Russell. And then on the hourly below, I've got this level because we know, this wick didn't take this guy out. So there's going to be something sitting down there at 1858.80. And we can see this, we've got this kind of rising trend line. Excuse me. Last week we looked at kind of like a similar setup on the ES going into the week where we were looking at, kind of this rising trend line setup here. The ES was looking just like this last week and then popped to the upside. This is when the Russell did it here, was kind of in this rising channel, and then we broke out to the upside. So kind of what I'm head on a swivel for this week, really going to be focusing on this level above on the Russell. But we kind of in this mode where we consolidate, break out for move higher, consolidate, break out for move higher. So that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for on the Russell to keep going. We'll see what we get, but really want to see if we can get up into this 1895.8, stop that guy out. So that's kind of what we'll be looking for here on the Russell. We jump over to the NASDAQ. I'm still working off the December contract here at the moment, which only goes a couple more days. So I'll be swapping this over pretty soon. We've got a couple different things going on here. Let's see. So below, I've got this level marked out in blue here, based on, if you look at the hourly here, these candle bodies, this is a key spot. You can see how many times. So we had some support, we had resistance, now we're operating above. So if we come back, I want to see what we do with this 1633.25 below. Purple box here is going to be this hourly 4-hour fair value gap. This candle's high to this candle's low. So we've traded down into it, working as support for the moment. And then this level above, you can see we're going to have some stops sitting up here, just above this high. So if we get up into the 118.75, will be kind of see what we do with it. And then you can see kind of over through here, we would have like a little fair value gap that fills up a little bit higher, 16,140.25 on the hourly. And then we've got this double top sitting up there. Some of the things I'll be watching for above, and then if we ended up breaking this rising setup, then we've got targets all the way down here with this fair value gap on the hourly. So kind of going to just see what we get for flow. We've seen in the SPX flow that they've been very bullish for this week, and then that we've seen the bulls going out to March. So kind of interested to see how that plays out. Other one I would take a look at here is the SMH. So we've got this SMH chart is kind of lining up to my eye with NVIDIA. Very bullish, breaking this kind of falling setup here, breaking a double bottom, getting some continuation. If we zoom out further here, I've got daily range. So we broke this previous falling setup here on the SMH. We've got fibs drawn from this range on the daily. So we still have, targets above. Whoever sold the top, they're still potentially in. So be kind of looking to see if we can get up to this 165.45. And then if you look over at NVIDIA, it looks super similar here. Falling setup, double bottom. And then, so these are some key levels here on this area in NVIDIA. I want to see it pop and hold 77.95 to the upside. If we're going to cool off, I'll be looking to see what happens below 470.6. The other interesting one coming into this week is Tesla. Tesla has had a weekly inside bar. We've been looking at these same levels all week last week, 243.30 below, and then we've got 237.50. I'm going to be focusing on Tesla, see if we can pop out of this range it's been stuck on. Could get a pretty good move. I think that's all I got for today.
Very nice. Thanks, Stonks. Okay, a couple of things that I'm going to be paying attention to. All last week I kept on, I don't want to say screaming, and I don't want to say belly aching. I want to say aggravated to absolutely no fucking end that the dollar would not retreat. The dollar would not retreat last week in any capacity. Now, depending on the time frame that you're looking at when it comes to the dollar, you can see a setup here that is not extremely bullish on the 30-minute. In my opinion, in the 1 hour, on my opinion, not extremely bullish from a setup standpoint. So I'm going to be looking for some type of weakness. Maybe it comes up and it touches the top of this little bear flag. Maybe it punches through it and then retreats. This is the week for the dollar retreat. I feel very firm in that statement, but they might not trigger that sell until Wednesday, Thursday, when Powell gets off the mic and all that kind of stuff is done. If you're looking on the other side, I think we can also take a peek at kind of the inverse of the dollar on some days, and that would be gold. Gold is down this morning with the dollar being up, so it looks like that is in play right now. And the reason why I'm doing this is more to get an idea of whether or not we're going to get some type of a risk on and risk off within the dollar or not. But it looks like the setup is there. If you look at gold, this is in a massive falling wedge on the 1 hour. On the 5 hour, it's just swing low, swing low. 5 hour, if you look at it specifically on gold, there was a head and shoulders that played out. We are down past through the neckline and looking at an area that could indeed bounce on any type of, I think it gets a capitulatory little flush, and then it bounces off of dollar weakness going into. They have absolutely priced in like they're going to get a rate increase, and that the Fed is going to be extremely hawkish on Wednesday. It's possible, but that would be about as disingenuous as it gets, and the market would see right through that. Rates will not be going higher, and I keep on saying it, but they just won't. So bear can eat it. And that's all I can really say about that part of it. From a flow standpoint, what I'm going to be watching very closely, this is Apple is everybody's daddy, and it just is what it is. They were hitting 197.50 calls on Apple for this week. We're currently trading 195. So when you're at a 195 and you have to strike above 197.50, you have the 195 strike. You also have the 192.50 strike sitting below. What is the price action and the activity on those lines? Are they coming in and hitting, at the money, close to the money, 195 puts, 195 calls? Where is that momentum trying to push? 197.50 calls. Are we going to push into 200s for next week? These are the type of things that, keeping an eye out for could yield, some pretty good returns if you're able to time these candles properly with flow in your options. So between retail and kind of peeking at Apple, look, I love the idea of Tesla Stonk. I really, really do. It just needs to actually close over 250 for once in its life. It just needs that close. And then we can maybe start talking about that 275, 300 getting into the new year. That's kind of how I see Tesla a little bit. So guys, you have anything else you want to add? You want to put in through here?
I'm like looking for all my dollar markup, and I'm working on it now. Personally, I kind of see a 4 hour inverse head and shoulders. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So we'll see, but I think the dollar is looking a little bit sketchy for upside and through here.
So, and I think you're right. I think I'm more trying to paint the picture that we could get a pop on the dollar, maybe here at open. right? And then it fades down and moves off going into Wednesday is really what with the ultimate sell coming Wednesday afternoon, Thursday. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. Usually, and the reason why I say it is if you look at this on a 1 hour, no, that's gold. Where'd my ducket go? On a 1 hour and even that 5 hour, it's like this is not a bullish setup on the dollar to my eye. It just isn't. Now, in saying that, can we get a pop? Sure. Will that pop immediately be faded? I absolutely unequivocally believe that it will going into Wednesday, Thursday. It doesn't do me any good to sit here and be like, well, it could do this if this happens and this happens and that happens. It's like, no, it's like I'm going to go ahead and step out on that ledge and say, yeah, no, the dollar is going to sell into the end of the week. The question is what level does it have to get to before it begins to sell? Does that make sense?
Yep.
No, fucking who cares if it makes sense or not. Anyways, that's what I got. We have 8 minutes until open. 8 minutes until open. Let's have a good day. Let's have a good week. Let's focus on having a good close to the year and setting out a really, really nice foundation into the new year. That's all I got. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.